Middlesbrough are in the process of getting their season back on track, and the same can be said for two outgoing Middlesbrough players. Two stars left the club in the January transfer window for pastures new, and since then they've really kicked on and started to show the football world exactly what they're capable of. But who are they, and how are they getting on away from the Riverside Stadium? We'll find out in Bonkers For Boro.
Stewie Downing then. Downing running beyond the fullback, whips a great looking ball in, header, goal! Massimo Macaroni! Macaroni's header! And Boro have struck a stick to the heart of Dracula's boys, and it could be Eindhoven.
Welcome back to Bonkers For Boro with me, Phil Spencer. It's been a week where Middlesbrough have been able to get their season back on track slightly with two victories in the space of a few days, just to ease the pressure on Michael Carrick and put Middlesbrough back into the playoff picture. But it's also been a few days when a couple of Middlesbrough's outgoing stars have spoken out on their time at Middlesbrough. And also kind of done their talking on the pitch as they look to really kick on in their careers. Now, the first player that we're going to talk about is Lukas Engel. Now, he left the club, left Middlesbrough in the January transfer window, left on an initial loan deal, which goes for the duration of this calendar year. He moved to FC Cincinatti in the MLS. So their season runs almost in calendar years. So their season's just got underway, and that loan deal runs until the end of 2025 when the season finishes. Now, that deal includes an option for a permanent move, meaning that effectively his time at Middlesbrough is all but done. If FC Cincinnati don't trigger that option, then you'd be surprised if he had a long-term future at Middlesbrough, and it would be somewhere else that he heads to on a permanent basis. Now, Lukas Engel's exit from Middlesbrough wasn't too much of a surprise. I think when Middlesbrough signed Ryan Giles in the January transfer window, it did feel like the writing was on the wall for him a little bit. He'd sort of struggled for form at the Riverside. It had always sort of been the case that Alex Bangura was the first choice ahead of him, but due to his injuries, he wasn't really able to get a run in the team. So Lukas Engel played, put in some okay performances sometimes, but really sort of struggled to adapt to life in the Championship and really kind of show what he was capable of on a regular basis. This season, Neto Borges came in the summer. Ousted him from the first team, and then when Ryan Giles joined in January, the writing was very much on the wall for Lukas Engel. So his move to the MLS didn't really come as a surprise. And Engel spoke this week to Teesside Live. He conducted an exclusive interview with Craig Johns, a friend of Bonkers For Boro, about his time at Middlesbrough and his reasons for leaving the club. And he was quite open in terms of his feelings on it. He was saying that the move to FC Cincinnati was an easy choice to move there, but the decision to leave Middlesbrough wasn't so easy. Speaking to Teesside Live, he said, "I was out injured for some time. As I was coming back, I was being straight up honest with Middlesbrough. I'm 26 and I need to play games. I just asked how the situation was looking for me. To be completely honest, my first priority was to be at Middlesbrough, but at the same time, I wanted to play games and they couldn't guarantee me that. So I started to look for options where I would maybe get more game time than Middlesbrough could offer me. When Middlesbrough decided they would let me go, it was dead easy to pick Cincinnati. It wasn't an easy decision to leave, though. I love my time at Middlesbrough. I'm proud to have represented the club and grateful to everyone for the opportunities they gave me. I obviously wish that things had turned out differently and I would have been able to really establish myself in the team. But I wish nothing but good for the club, and will closely be following for the rest of the season in the hope that they can get over the line." Now, of course, he's talking about Middlesbrough's aspirations of going for promotion this season. Engel, his comments really quite graceful. Things hadn't really worked out for him, and it had been a really difficult season for him. I think, well, to be fair, you could probably say that it was quite a difficult 18 months. He never really endeared himself to supporters, I guess, in terms of in terms of his performances on the pitch. He seemed like a really likable guy. He seemed like a good professional. There didn't really seem to be any issues from that point of view. But I think obviously he came into the club at a time when Ryan Giles had just absolutely torn it up for Middlesbrough in that 2022-23 season. Obviously, we'd got all the way to the playoffs, didn't get promoted, but Ryan Giles had been outstanding. He'd got 11 assists. He was flying up and down that left wing. He was absolutely soaring in terms of confidence. And so for Lukas Engel to come in and try and replace him, it was a really, really difficult task, one which he didn't really rise to. And ultimately, it's just simply a case of things not working out. It does happen in football. Not every transfer is going to work out for a variety of reasons, and that's not necessarily the fault of the player or Middlesbrough's recruitment team. But it does feel like Lukas Engel leaving the club was the right decision. Since moving to FC Cincinatti, really the hope for him is that he can just rebuild his career. It's a great league. We have seen that it's growing in popularity and growing in the lure of bringing players in. We also saw Emmanuel Latilath go over there in January as well for that MLS record transfer fee. And so for Engel, I personally really hope that he can kick on and show what he's capable of, because he's a good player. He's a good left back. He might not be the person that Middlesbrough want to play at left back moving forward, but I certainly wish him all the best in terms of moving forward. It does feel like he will be leaving Middlesbrough on a permanent basis, whether that's to FC Cincinnati or to someone else. But yeah, certainly for him, it's a great move, and one where, when you look at his comments there, very graceful, clearly appreciated his time at Middlesbrough, and yeah, really wish him all the best moving forward. Another player who left Middlesbrough in the January transfer window was Alex Gilbert. Now, his future at Middlesbrough is a little bit less certain than what Lukas Engel's is. His move to Charlton Athletic in January was a straight loan move, that runs until the end of the season, purely designed to give him a more regular first-team football. He had sort of struggled in his first season at Middlesbrough. He'd kind of really struggled to kind of make a splash, really. But as you got to the back end of the season and the last few games, Middlesbrough supporters really started to see what he was kind of capable of in terms of his technical ability. You know, Gilbert's a number 10. He's quite happy playing at number 8 as well. So he's someone who's very comfortable on the ball, technically, very, very gifted player. He's got a good range of passing. Good crossing. He's a good finisher as well. He's just someone who offers a real creative threat in midfield. And it did seem that come the end of last season, he was someone who was likely to play a much more key role for Middlesbrough in the Championship this season. Things went well for him at the start. He played well at the start of the campaign. Played really well in that Carabao Cup game against Leeds United at Ellen Road, which Middlesbrough, of course, won 3-0. And Gilbert was instrumental in that. And it looked like he was going to be someone who was going to get a run of games and show exactly what he was capable of. But injuries ended up disrupting the first half of the season. He ended up not playing a huge amount. And then when it got to January, the hope was really that he was going to stick around the Middlesbrough first team and get that opportunity in the second half of the season. But of course, Middlesbrough went out, signed a number of attacking players, people like Morgan Whittaker, Sam Iling-Junior, that these kind of players all came in and really kind of provided significant competition for places in those attacking areas, which meant that for Gilbert, opportunities were going to be even more limited. And that's why the move to Charlton ultimately came about. Now, since moving to the Valley, Alex Gilbert has put in a number of really impressive performances, but they haven't really translated into to starting appearances yet. At the time of recording, Gilbert's made 5 appearances for Charlton, all of which have come off the bench, and he has provided 3 assists in that time. His first assist came in his second match against Peterborough. The last 2 came just at the weekend in the 2-1 victory over Leyton Orient, where Alex Gilbert really inspired Charlton to a crucial win. They were 1-0 down at Brisbane Road, really kind of struggling in that sort of match. And Gilbert came on midway through the second half and completely changed the game. He provided 2 assists for Charlton, allowed them back into the game, and he ultimately ended up winning the match 2-1 to bolster their hopes of securing promotion from League One. Charlton are very much in the mix to get promoted via the playoffs, and Gilbert could be a really key part of that. Now, while he hasn't started games for Charlton, he has made a real impression on supporters. Just by looking through the fan forums and looking on Twitter, fans are really, really impressed by what they've seen from Gilbert. The quality that he's brought into their team has been absolutely outstanding. He is someone that fans want to see in the starting lineup a little bit more often. The conception, obviously, I don't follow Charlton on a hugely regular basis, but Roy Anderson, their midfielder, seems to be the player that's sort of keeping him out of the 11 at the moment. A lot of fans don't seem to be entirely convinced by that decision, and they'd like to see more of Gilbert in the starting 11. And you've got to say that based on his performances and his output, it's really quite surprising that he's not starting those games, and it would be a surprise if that doesn't happen in the coming weeks. For Gilbert, I think this loan spell really is about getting regular first-team football. He's a young player, but he's not as young as what people think. He hasn't played a huge amount of senior level football, and for someone who's 23 years of age, that's a little bit of a concern. Maybe that's something that Middlesbrough were aware of, and that was why they wanted him to go out on loan to play regular first team football. And this really feels like a sort of loan move, which will sort of decide what the future holds for Alex Gilbert. From my point of view, I'd like to see him in the first team at Middlesbrough. I think he's a really good quality player. Technically gifted, someone who I think certainly has a role to play for Middlesbrough next season. Obviously, it probably depends on what division Middlesbrough are playing in next season. If we were to get promoted, that probably changes. But given the high likelihood, you've got to say that Middlesbrough will be playing in the Championship next season. I do think that Gilbert has the qualities to certainly offer something to that Middlesbrough first team. Obviously, the recruitment team might have other ideas with PSR in mind and that sort of thing. But I personally think that he's very capable of being a good Championship level player. Someone who is capable of being a good player for Michael Carrick's team, and he has already showed that he knows how to shine under Michael Carrick as well. So it's going to be a really interesting few months for Gilbert. I'm really pleased for him that he's doing well with Charlton and showing exactly what he's capable of. I was quite open when he moved to Charlton, saying that he was a really good player and saying that he is someone that I expected to do well at the Valley, working under Nathan Jones, and it's really pleasing to see him do that. I would like to see him get a few more starts under his belt. I do think that's probably likely to come. It's really hard to sort of ignore the numbers that he's putting in at the moment, and it'd be a real surprise if he ends up staying on the bench for the second half of the season, given the quality that he possesses. But certainly for Gilbert, a really important couple of months coming up, and certainly one that Middlesbrough fans will be watching on very closely, because I know that a lot of supporters have a lot of time for Gilbert and believe that he could be a very, very good player for Middlesbrough moving forward. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think about Alex Gilbert and whether you think that he is someone who has the ability to play for Middlesbrough moving forward, particularly given his performances for Charlton. So drop into the comments below. Let me know what you think about Gilbert and whether he has a future at the club. If you have enjoyed this video, please do hit like and hit subscribe as well. There's plenty more coming, and I will catch up with you next time.